Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central, so I get right home with you in the afternoon. You can find us a number of different ways. You can find us on the good old radio. It's icradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, 182 Charter. You can also find us syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Please don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. That's where people get together with like minds. You can say it, you don't have to worry about being taken off of anything with the newscasters. Hey, I'm for real, and they even let you on there. I mean,
that's a good thing.
And we're the dynamic duo. So both of us together.
Yeah.
Well-watched shows, absolutely. And also, Rob at Abundant Television was telling me how the numbers are just rising. And you want to know why? It's not because I'm great and wonderful. It's because I have wonderful guests, and we speak the truth, and people are so sick and tired of hearing watered-down versions of everything. Yeah. They want to know, hey, brass tacks, tell me what it's all about. And people who were kind of upset with Trump's demeanor, I think have decided maybe he's not so bad after all.
Yeah, I read an article this morning that there's going to be some of those, the silent majority. However, it's becoming perfectly clear to the pollsters that the silent majority is coming from the Democrat side, that are going to be voting for Trump, but they can't say it out loud.
Of course.
So, of course, if the Christians don't get out and vote, then it's going to be another Biden where they can steal it. We have to overwhelm the algorithm. And the only way we can overwhelm the algorithm so they can't cheat is if the Christians decide our country is worth more than being mad about his silly tweets. Because I've heard from a lot of Christians, he's not a nice man. Well, he's a street fighter, and he's going to say things that you don't like. But look what the country was like when he was president the last time. If he doesn't win, the United States is over, because the globalists this past weekend passed the Pact for the Future. They went into hyperdrive because they're afraid he's going to get elected. And they passed this thing at 65 pages long, and I've read it twice, and every time I read it, I just get sicker and sicker. If he doesn't win, there's nobody that's going to stop this nonsense. So put down your false aggravation about his little silly tweets, because that's the only thing Democrats understand is, and the rest of these globalists and these Muslims, that you have to fight back. Mm-hmm. And that's the way he fights back. Mm-hmm. So we got to put aside that and vote for the country, not for the person.
I'm overwhelmed. Okay, I'm a Christian myself. Okay, to me, they're not mean tweets. To me, speaking the truth. And maybe it's because some of our churches have kind of turned into whiny churches, where the truth can't be spoken because you might offend someone or whatever. I kind of like back in the old days where people would just say, it's either black or it's white. There's none of the gray stuff. It's just, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just, because if you don't vote for him, you're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, do you think Kamala Harris is a really good person?
No, she's a communist. Both of her parents were communist and Marxist, and her father wrote a book about the Marxist takeover of America. And if you think she doesn't think like he does, you're not paying attention. If she wins, she will open the borders, let the UN come in, and then it'll be the end of freedom as we know it. It is a war on freedom, private property, capitalism, and fate.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a war, and people better get up every morning and put on the full armor, or they're going to run over us.
Mm-hmm. They absolutely will. You better believe they will.
Yes.
It's just, okay, so there was a time when, illegal immigration, immigrants were coming in, what have you, but, we didn't hardly worry about it in small town Alabama because we just thought, well, it's just happening in Chicago. I mean, it's in New York, it's in parts of California. That's what we were thinking, a few years ago. It's in our back door now.
And now it's in your front door. Sylacauga had 2 meetings this past week, and it's in Gunnersville, it's in Huntsville, it's in Opelika, it's in Oxford, it is in Fairhope. Fairhope is a city of 20,000, and they're bringing in 1,000 Haitians. And our legislators say that there's absolutely nothing we can do because they're legal. They've been made legal by the federal government, by Kamala Harris, to bring these Haitians in to take jobs from Americans. And, the last time I was on, I talked about the whole program in Alabama, where our supermajority Republican legislature passed housing credits and child tax credits, and we have Innovate Alabama and Working for Alabama that are putting these people to work, building them housing according to what the federal government tells them, multifamily, low-income housing for workers by the employers to get tax credits. Now, this passed the last session, and it includes child credit. So now they're bringing them in. Of course, Will Ainsworth this past weekend told the people in Fairhope that he was not going to accept the federal dollars for bringing in these Haitians. He has no choice. He has no choice. They have already been given the grant money to bring these people in, $450 million, paid for by our tax dollars to destroy our communities and our state and our country, because it happened all across the country. So, people, you better start calling your legislator. The other night at Sylacauga, they had 5 legislators who couldn't answer the questions: where they came from, who's getting paid, who's making money. In fact, one of the council members at Sylacauga actually has some of the Haitians working for him in the chicken plant. So unless you start now calling legislators and calling Congress and saying, stop this program, they're going to overrun us. In fact, they already have in some states.
Maybe too late. Maybe too late. So this is what happened in the Albertville City Council meeting.
Oh, did y'all have one too?
Yeah, there was one in Albertville. I didn't get to go to it.
Okay.
But people who speak the truth who were there tell me what happened there. Okay, so the unvarnished truth, by the way. So, by the way, when you hear the phone call coming in, it goes blank for a second. So it's only for a second. So this is what happens. Okay, so members of the city council people were saying, you don't believe in Jesus? You don't believe in Jesus? Do you not believe in Jesus? Okay, had I been there, this is what I'd have said. And I'm going to go to one, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Hey, if you see me walking into your city council meeting, this is how I'm going to respond. I'm going to gently raise my hand up, and I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to say, so it's okay now to speak Jesus? You mean we're not offending anybody? So now it's okay to talk about Jesus. That's what I'm going to say.
Well,
prior to now, you couldn't mention Jesus's name because you're offending some group somewhere. You're making, but now we can talk about Jesus.
Exactly. Jesus would not, in fact, I had somebody ask me, well, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
I don't think Jesus would bring in
Murderers,
children, and people who can't speak the language to overwhelm our schools, people who do not want to assimilate into our culture where they set up their own culture. I don't think Jesus would have brought in voodoo and the Pharisees to destroy a community.
I kind of don't think so either.
I kind of don't think so.
So there's a lady, and her name is Linda Hansen, and she was a campaign manager for Herman Gain. And so she's a regular on the show. She comes on once a month. So before the debate happened, before Trump said something about the people eating cats, she was talking about people eating animals.
Oh, absolutely.
And what they do is it's like a religious ritual with them. I don't think you could go to the Southern Baptist Church and get a cat and put it out on the altar and drink its blood and call that a Southern gospel something.
Exactly.
I don't think so. So these people are talking about Jesus might want to think about that. I mean, I'm just saying.
They have brought in 5% of the population of Haiti. I've been to Haiti.
It's not a nice place.
It's not a nice place. The people are not nice, and they don't understand law and order. Period. They want something, they take it. If it's yours, I don't care whose it is. And it's been that way since Clinton. The Clinton Foundation went over there and gave all that money to whomever it got ever to, because it never got down to the people.
Chelsea's wedding cost how much money?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And it's a dangerous place. You just don't understand that for 2 or 3 generations, they've had to fight to survive. And then you bring them over here.
Okay. For the folks who don't get it, go to a yard sale, go shopping anywhere in Albertville or Boaz. Just go anywhere. So there's a group of people, I won't mention their names, but there's a group of people who are raising funds for something, and it's a very likely great cause. So they had this big yard sale at a church. So I was picking up some glassware looking like I didn't really need any, but anyway, I was picking it up looking at it. So a Haitian bunch were there, and they were just all like surrounded. They were taking over everything. Right. So I was looking at one glass. It was a set of 12, and it was beautiful antique looking. It was gorgeous. And so I was just looking at one glass. Well, this Haitian woman comes up and just starts just picking them all up and pulled it out of my hand.
That's right.
And I'm like, I wasn't going to buy it. Yeah, I mean, but I was looking. But do you have to take it out of my hand? And that's
because in Haiti, it's survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm. And so you're okay with people like that living around you?
Yeah, that's the question. The other question is,
I'm not okay with white trash taking stuff away, and I'm most certainly not okay with a Haitian coming in taking it away.
So, if you read 1819 News this morning. Chris Elliott said that perhaps we need to bring back Scott Beeson's 2011 bill, his immigration bill, that was the tightest in the country, which, by the way, I had a hand in, that got passed. But the then Supreme Court, which was more liberal than the one we have now, struck it down and called it discriminatory and unconstitutional. So I went back this morning and printed it out, and I because I can't remember everything that was in it. I know it was a strong bill, and it was basically because Hoover had been overrun by the Catholic Charities bringing in all these illegal Mexicans, Hispanics, and they all congregated in Hoover. And it was a nightmare, and it's still pretty bad, but it was a nightmare. So I printed it out, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to talk about it. You have to present proof of citizenship and residency before you vote. is in that bill.
Is that a bad thing? What would Jesus say about that?
Exactly. You have to, the state or local government can refuse to assist the federal government in alien unlawfully present in the United States from receiving any benefits. That again, we
I don't have
need.
a problem with that. I just really don't. Not for years. My entire life, almost, I have worked.
So it
required, by the way.
Yeah, it required the E-Verify to make sure that employers didn't hire illegals. And it penalized them 2 years in jail if an employer hired an illegal after using E-Verify. Let's see.
I'd be good with that.
You couldn't harbor, conceal, shield, or provide any place to hide from the police, or you go to jail. Listen, I'm right there with Chris Elliott. This bill needs to pass again, and then it can go to the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court we have now may very well say there's nothing wrong with that bill.
You think?
And make it law of the state. And then these illegals, because they're only legal for what, 60, 90 days? What are you going to do with them in 60 to 90 days when they become illegal?
Here's the thing. Our ancestors, I promise you, I did not come from wealth. I would love to be the middle class that Kamala Harris grew up in. That would be an awesome.
Did you see that house?
Okay, for God's sake, so just use your common sense. Okay, that's middle class.
Exactly. That's not middle class. No.
The neighborhood I grew up in was Cheehaw Acres number 2, and it was in Oxford, Alabama. There's the Cheehaw Acres number 1. That's where Rick Burgess grew up in. So he was in Cheehaw Acres number 1. I was in Cheehaw Acres number 2. I was older than him, but anyway, here's the facts about Cheehaw Acres number 1 and number 2. It's a nice neighborhood, but it was most certainly not a house that looked like that within 10 miles.
Exactly. Well, I was on the Facebook the other day, and they've come up with, I grew up in Roebuck, which at that time was not part of the city of Birmingham. It was just Jefferson County. And so they've got this group of we who grew up in Roebuck, and it's been very interesting to listen, to converse with people that I knew when I was 10, 12 years old, going to North Roebuck School, talking about how great and wonderful it was growing up in those neighborhoods. And the houses were like, well, I lived in a big house because we lived on the 13 acres at the end of the road with horses and cows and a farm. And it was a big old farmhouse and up on the hill. But they built neighborhoods around us, had 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a kitchen, and a living room, because that's how people lived then.
Yeah.
If you had a 3-bedroom, you're rich. Yeah. Your mom or dad.
Back in my day, if you had 2 bathrooms, my God, you were rich. You were in the money.
Even as big as our house was, we only had 1 bathroom. That was they just didn't build houses.
With that. The older I am, the more I like just washing and cleaning 1 bathroom instead of 3.
Exactly. So, we used to live, and we were considered middle class. My dad was a CPA, and my mom worked at Hayes International, because that's kind of where a lot of the people that lived around us worked, was either those 2 things. So, but we were middle class. You go look now at those neighborhoods out in Roebuck, you would not recognize the people who now live there, because middle class is gone.
And that's the whole idea. Race wars, races against each other. So
Yeah.
then, and this is not anything that just started. I mean, this has been going on for decades. But the first thing is, okay, if we can just get the blacks and the whites against each other, we've won the war. Now they've got the blacks going against the Mexicans. That's another one. Then they got the Mexicans now going against the Haitians. It's all a setup to destroy the whole country.
Yeah, that's Marxism 101. That's what's happening.
And then the news media was acting as if because I grew up in Oxford, and I had most of my friends were black, for goodness sakes. But if you listen to the media, they would have you thinking we were at each other's throats all the time. It was not like that.
No. I grew up in the 60s during the civil rights marches. We've had this discussion, but yeah. The kids across the street from me were minority. They were black. They lived up on the hill, and my cows used to get out and go up there, and they'd have to call me and tell me, come get my cows. I lived close to 5 Mile Road, had a live-in housekeeper whose daughter, who was black, lived down the street, and her 2 kids. So during the weekends, Ethel would go home, and there were times that if Ethel had to go check on something, I'd go down the street and play with her grandchildren. It was not like
nothing like they say it was.
The problem was the people who came in from outside.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, when we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and so I remember moving there, and a lady who was on the show said, where are you from originally? Texas? Most people thought I was from Texas. And so I said, no, I'm from Alabama. The minute I would say Alabama, people would say things like, ooh, Selma. Ooh. I mean, they would bring stuff like that up, and I would correct them. I would say, apparently, you've been educated the wrong way. It was nothing like that. The people in Selma are awesome people. Yeah. I mean, there are so many wonderful people in Selma, Alabama, for goodness sakes. It was the rebel rousers they shipped in here on that terrible, terrible day. That's what happened.
Well, coming from Birmingham, and when the marches started, they locked us all in the high schools. They were in the streets and wouldn't let us leave until the marchers left. I mean, it wasn't a fun week, but those that I lived around only wanted their own schools to be as good as our schools.
And that's not.
They wanted separate but equal. But that's not what they got. So, but now we have so many, like 15, 20, 30, hundreds of different nationalities in our schools trying to be taught, and they can't even speak English.
Do you know in Albertville High School, they're having an issue. They're trying to find teachers who can speak their language, the Haitians, and they can't find them. So what's happening is that people aren't learning anything. It's just common sense. Okay, so I'm going to put it to you this way. You remember when you went to school, there was always this loudmouth white person that wanted to be the rebel without a cause and would start things in class. Well, it was like on 1 or 2 people. And the teacher would have to spend a good 15 minutes, and then she'd say, you're getting a paddling next time. Okay, they'd start up. She'd say, let's go to the office and get you paddling. Well, that would cramp that down. That would stop it.
Yeah.
So now you've got it coming from all directions, and the teacher, I'd hate to be a teacher.
And that's against the law.
You
can't paddle. It's against the law.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, things were a lot better off if you even thought you might get a paddling.
Yep. So it's costing there's no telling how much is going to cost our school systems to deal with this problem.
So what are we going to have to hire? Okay, now we have people who've got to tell your kids to be confused and you don't know what sex you are. Well, you got to say that in another language too. It can't be just English. So you got to have that person. You've got to have teachers that, without feeling segregated, you got to have people that you can't just have a classroom, I'm assuming, with Haitians. You've got to have a different teacher just for them.
Oh, absolutely. I don't.
Of all the Haitians coming in, aren't there many teachers or anything like that? I mean, maybe they could hire from within that group.
No, because if you look at what they're bringing in, most of them are men and unaccompanied minors.
You just made my point, which also goes to human trafficking.
Exactly, exactly. So, and we are allowing that here in Alabama, and those unaccompanied alien children, who's taking care of them? What are they doing with them? I mean, Kamala's lost 625,000 unaccompanied minors in America already, just from the
Okay,
open borders.
if I were still working for GTE, okay, where we sell cell phones and I handle government and corporate accounts, I promise you I would have gotten fired had I lost 10 cell phones. Okay, that's 10 cell phones compared to how many kids I mean,
Well, the last number I heard was like 625,000. They have no clue because they gave them to sponsors that they didn't vet. They didn't, she stopped the DNA because it had to be a relative. Well, as borders are, she stopped the DNA test and just started. They know that thousands of kids are being sent to the same address, given to the same person. What are they doing with those kids? Where are they? Where did they go? I mean, the only thing we can do is, one, elect Trump, two, build a wall and put enough money down there to make sure that anybody who comes in this country legally has a place to go, has a sponsor. We got to make the states that are allowing this, give them the power to handle it. Because the Constitution says that if the federal government doesn't control the border, the states have the right to defend their citizens. It's under the 10th Amendment, by the way. But every time the state tries to defend the citizens, the federal government sues the state to stop defending the citizens. So their whole thing is, we are going to overwhelm the United States because in order to implement the globalist plan, where one great world, they have to destroy the United States because we're standing in their way. So this weekend, the UN passed the Pact for the Future, which all nations agreed to except 7. And they did it by silent. If you don't vote against it, it passes. Mm-hmm. But only 7 nations stood up. Are you ready for the 7? Mm-hmm. Number 1 was Russia. Because Russia doesn't want to lose their sovereignty. Number 2 was China. Belarus. Let's see, I can't remember the other ones. I have them written down. But
is the United States in there, at least in the top?
Nope. The United States did not say a word. And that's what we are fighting against.
Okay, if Trump were president, what do you think would happen?
Trump would get us out of the UN. He's going to have to get us out of the UN. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to shut down the Green New Deal and the sustainability crap. Sorry, my French. Because Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 has taken over the country already. And that's why they went into hyperdrive this past weekend, because the leading paragraph says we must accelerate the objectives of Agenda 2030 because we are not at the point where we need to have a globalist governance.
All right, I got a good one for you. We have to go into a commercial break. But before we go into the commercial break, I got a good one for you. Okay, so we have people in North Carolina and Florida who are just there. They've been devastated by this hurricane.
Yes.
It looks like the Atlantic Ocean out there in some places. Some places you can only get through in a helicopter. You're not going to drive into it at all with big rig, nothing. You just can't get into it. Can't some of the funds, can we put this is Donna talking. Can we just put a temporary hold on some of the funds that we're giving to illegal people who never paid into the system ever? Could we give some of those funds to these poor people who are suffering because of the hurricane, who have paid taxes their entire lives? They've lost their homes. They've lost everything because of this horrible hurricane that came through. Could that be a thought in anybody's brain in office?
Well, I would think that Florida would have a better chance because of DeSantis, and because they've done it before. North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee was a shock to their system. Both of those areas are governed by fairly liberal legislators. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I would even think if you're the biggest liberal on earth, if you're Nathaniel Ledbetter, if you're Will Ainsworth, I'm sorry, but I would be thinking about that devastation. Yeah. I would be doing whatever I could, because election year is coming up. I mean, there's going to be a governor's race coming in pretty darn quick.
Yep.
It better start. People remember things. I do. Women especially, we're going to remember stuff. Whatever your husband does, you're going to remember it forever. You're never going to forget it. So think about this, Will and Nathaniel. Think about this. What you're doing now is going to be in remembrance of the upcoming election 2 years from now.
Well, and I really think that's one of the reasons that Will Ainsworth has gone out on the stump talking about not taking federal funds for these illegal aliens. Because he knows. He's been told. I have told him, this is what's going to happen. And he said, well, you need to bring that and come to my office and let's sit down and talk about it. And I think the other night he said, I am going to put forth legislation not to accept federal dollars for these programs and to stop the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that are bringing them in, such as Catholic Charities. There's another one that they're using that has a really bad reputation. Basically, they're trafficking. So Ainsworth is getting on the bandwagon. Now, is Ainsworth doing it because he knows the governor's race is coming up?
Yeah. Because I want you to ask him this question. Just tell him there's somebody that owns a business in Alabama, and her name is Donna Feazell. And just tell him Donna Feazell says when she's ready to make a decision about something, snap to it. I mean, we just do it. I decide I want to do something, we just do it. Of course, I understand the government is not run that way. I get it. But are there any emergency ways that you can just kind of like overnight make things happen?
Steve Marshall could file for an injunction. The question is, will he get it? Because he's going to have to file against a federal program. The state of Alabama and all of these Innovate and Working for Alabama and the Department of Workforce Development, which we now have, has to quit asking for money from the federal government, because they are filling out grants as fast as they can to get this money. Because I guarantee you, when Trump gets in office, it will stop. And that's why they're in hyperdrive. That's why we're being overrun.
Exactly. Let's go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Y'all hang in there. I'm sorry. I just get all crazy about this. I love the country. I just love it. I grew up in a really good country, and it's just turned into... Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. This beautiful lady, beautiful hair, this right over here, her name, I don't think I even mentioned, I just kept calling you Ann. Her name is Ann Eubank. I thought, because you're friends with me, I think the whole world knows you, and they probably do.
Well, a lot of them do, yeah.
A lot of folks do. And I think it's for the good. And I just wanted to tell you in front of everybody, in front of the whole world, everybody who's watching us right now, I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't say that to many people, but I definitely appreciate this. It's like the whole world here. You are, now, did I think you were wacky the first time I ever met you? Yeah, I did. I'm like, this person is wacky. I really did. But I was ignorant. And I did not know the things that were happening through the school systems. I didn't know all this stuff that was happening. I apologize. Girl, you're right on target.
You know, I still get wacky. I gave 3 speeches. I gave 3 speeches last week. And you could tell the ones who have heard it, understand it, have seen it, and have done their research on it when I start giving all these facts, because I don't make it up. I just take it straight out of where it came from. And then you got these people who are like, what is?
It's because they're ignorant and they don't know. Like, yes. I was just so stupid and ignorant. I didn't have, my son was like 30 something years old, no grandkids, no skin in the game, no nothing. I didn't know it got to this.
Well, you know, we started back in 2010, 2011 talking about Common Core. Common Core has destroyed our school systems, has destroyed our children. And, you know, in 2017, I made a documentary that's in it. I said Common Core will turn our kids into good little socialists. Well, that's exactly what it's done. They have turned our children against our country. Well, that was step number 1. Step number 2, which unfortunately God gave me the discernment and the ability to connect the dots to all the stuff that's happening. It's all one big plan. And all you have to do is learn how to connect the dots. Well, step number 2 was the data. All of the data being collected, all of the data going to a centralized, central government. In Alabama, it started with the Department of IT, which before every department kept their own information and data, such as the education department. But back in 12 or 13, they came up with this idea, and everybody thought, well, that's a great thing. Let's centralize all the information on the citizens of Alabama, put it in one place. However, what they didn't understand was that one place sent it to Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
to Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, DHR, Department of probably the CIA and the NSA and anybody else who wanted it. That was step 2. Well, now we're into step 3, which is called Innovate Alabama and Working for Alabama, because the federal government has come in and decided. And beforehand, before I go any further, let me explain. The federal government has put the bill for Common Core, for data collection, and Alabama has never seen a federal dollar that they didn't love. So the federal dollars have encouraged the Alabama legislature just to hand us over to a globalist government. So now we're in step 3 with Innovate and Working for Alabama, 100% paid for by the federal government. And it's in their documents. And by the way, I have a copy of it sitting right next to me that I could read it to you word for word, where they are going to pick winners and losers in businesses, winners and losers in our students, because they've now put us on 3 tracks. You get to go to college. You get to go to high-paying vocations such as welding, automotive, and those electricians, plumbers, or they're going to assign you a factory job, and that's already implemented. That's step 3. So step 4 came this weekend when the UN went into hyperdrive. And unless we can elect Trump in time to stop it and get us out of the UN, because the WHO treaty didn't pass because there was so much, well, we're going to have to do the same thing about this one, the Pact for the Future. Mm-hmm. Because you must now start calling your legislators state, local, anything, because our city planners and our county commissions and our city councils are all in on the gig with this grant money coming from the federal government. So I have some questions for them. Mm-hmm. And it's called the Planners Network. The example is, how do your citizens feel about these policies that forces them to move from single-family homes to low-income multi-housing, which is being built in your area, Donna,
now,
as we sit here right now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to put you in a 15-minute city. You're not going to be allowed private property. And there's a constitutional amendment that didn't pass this time, but they're going to bring it back, where they will be given the ability of eminent domain and take your private property. Mm-hmm. And then they will decide which businesses gets to operate. And kind of like what they did during COVID.
Let me ask you a question. How does this tie in to Kamala Harris, her idea about capital gains? Does this correlate?
Well, it all correlates. Okay, if you are a business, say a business owner, and you have assets of, say you take, hello, Max. Max has joined us.
Hey, Max, I've been missing Max.
Well, yeah, he's right behind me. There you are. Okay. He's mad at me because it's snack time.
You'll get over it.
Yeah, he's about to hit me with his toy because he wants a snack time. So I hear you growling. Behave yourself. So you put your profits, say, in the stock market. So you've got $1 million worth of profits that you want. You know, it's there in case you need it. Mm-hmm. Well, you started out with 500,000, but because the stock market has gone up enough, you now have $1 million. Kamala Harris will make you pay taxes on that $500,000 gain, even though it's just sitting there waiting in case you need it. You're not using it. You haven't taken it out. And the next time the market drops, it's not going to be $500,000. But every single year on your tax return, if you have a capital gain, even if you're not using it, you have to pay taxes on it.
This would also apply to, let's say you inherit something, you inherit
Yes.
land, I mean, anything like that that you get. Okay, has she established yet what the percentage would be on the capital gains that you would have to pay?
I've heard anywhere from 15 to 40%.
Oh my God.
And
So,
I think,
okay, all right, so everybody think for just a second. Where do you think that money's going to go?
to illegal aliens. I think she's having to back up though, because people who understand are beginning to get that out to other people, and they're like, no. Just like my daughter bought her house for $250,000 about 5 years ago. It is now worth $420,000.
Mm-hmm.
So when Kamala Harris gets elected the first year on her tax returns, she has to pay taxes on the difference of $420,000 and $250,000, which is what, $170,000 maybe? No, I don't. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anywhere from 15 to 40% tax on the amount of money that her house has appreciated. Even though it's still sitting here, she didn't sell it. She hasn't had any benefit from that increase. And that's just crazy. That's voodoo math.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's call that voodoo math. So, but I think
Okay,
she's backing up on
you're
that.
a Christian. Okay, you're a Christian. You don't want to vote. You're
Right.
insane.
Yeah, you're insane.
I actually call you religious, and I don't call you a Christian. There's a difference between the two.
Well, you know that, and I can't remember, and I'm terrible with my Bible verses, but the verse where it says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
And unto God, what's God's.
Yes. Well, that doesn't mean that you have to ignore politics. If Christians don't get involved in politics, you're not going to be able to have the freedom of religion. You're not going to be able to have private property. You're not going to be able to have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, because they will take it away from you. They're already talking about stacking the Supreme Court once they get elected. We have to stop them. I know the last time we said it was bad, but look what they did in 3 years. Actually, look what they did the first year. They get 4 more years. We won't exist as a country as you know it now. It'll be COVID on steroids.
Yes, it will.
Because it'll be the UN and the WEF and the globalists that run our government. Even more than they do now.
And they do.
Yes.
But all these things have just been tying in. And I'm so glad I met you, because you're the person who had the guts to get out there and talk about what's really happening. And it's true, Ann. Every single thing you said has been absolutely true. And what they do is just use little different spokes. They'll get into this person who would react this way. They'll get into this person who reacts a different way about different situations. And that's how you get everybody. But to me, it's all about population control, because, okay, think about this. So I'm like you, I do research. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, somebody who's a boy thinks he wants to be a girl. Somebody who's a girl thinks she wants to be a boy. So I'm going to do research. Is if you're a girl and you want to be a boy, are you going to have the sex motivations that you would have being a boy? You don't.
No.
You will just be a walking zombie, walking around with no relationship.
You
which
will really become
represents-
asexual. There won't be because your body is not designed to become opposite of what it is. So you really won't.
So you're not going to benefit from that.
No. So, but another question is, do you think the people that are going to be in these innovative districts, of which Alabama has 7 already, the entire state is divided, to be told you can't drive a car unless it's an electric vehicle or a bicycle, because that's one of the UN's 17 sustainability goals. So you're going to have to go through, and we've already, it's already in executive EPA saying we're not going to have gasoline cars by 2030, but the people are starting to fight back. Well, you're going to start hearing about public transportation like metros and MARTAs and things.
Which are worthless, by the way.
Right. Things that we don't have in Alabama because there's not going to be a mode of transportation. So you're going to be forced to stay within a certain boundary, which is one of the UN 17 goals. So we're all going to be forced onto light rail, public transportation, buses. I don't even know that buses, unless they're electric. And those things weigh 5 tons. So I don't know how we stop this unless we get Trump elected. There will be no stopping it unless we elect Trump.
Well, here's what I'm afraid is going to happen. He's already had 2 assassination attempts already, probably more than we just don't even know about.
Yeah.
There have probably been some stopped. I would think even before he came into the office the first time, there had to be some attempts made on him because he's ruffling the feathers of too many people that make the deals. So will there be another one? God's putting his hedge of protection around him because the first one should have got him had he not turned his head
1/4 of a millimeter. I mean, it was like just enough.
And I don't know how you can just be stupid and call that fake that he made that up.
No.
Who would be that dumb to say, now, okay, you and me talking here, okay? Hey, Ann, I want to make this thing up, but now I want you to only nick my ear. I know you're a good shot. We both have guns. You and I have guns. We got I know you're a good shot, but I'm not going to trust you to just nick my ear.
Right.
There's no way. I love you and I adore you and I thank you for everything you've done, but you ain't shooting no gun just to nick my ear.
Well, that nobody's talking about the fact that both of those guys were in a Black Rock video.
Yeah, can we not discuss that? And I always think this is another thing. I know this is just simpleton Donna here thinking about this. Could there not be a way we can look at people's bank accounts to see large sums of money that have been put in them?
Well, the first one, the young guy had offshore accounts. I mean, how many 19-year-olds do you know have offshore accounts?
I don't know any.
I don't have one.
Is that not a red flag?
Well, this is the globalists. And remember, the globalists own the media companies. And, there is so much that's going on that the media is not even talking about. I cannot tell you, in the past month, 24/7, I am reading. If you can see right what's next to me, I have 3 4-inch binders and a stack of things that I am reading that people don't even know about. That, have you heard about the UN Pact for the Future passing and that 7 countries objected, but the United States wasn't one of them? Have you heard anything about that? No.
I've not heard anything about that. Of course, I don't watch CNN, but
I don't watch. No, I haven't even heard it on Fox. I mean, I'm like, I wish J.D. Vance would bring it up tomorrow night. In case y'all don't know, we have a vice presidential.
They're keeping that quiet because they know that he's going to make mincemeat of the war run. He's one of
the smartest guys I know. So it's at.
Now that's a true. This guy wasn't middle class. He was way below.
Oh Lord bless! If y'all haven't seen his story or read that book, it's amazing what that man.
Keep the book on the shelves at Books A Million.
Yeah. So it's at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night on Fox. So maybe it'll be a fair and balanced.
Yeah.
We'll know. Who knows?
I hope so. Okay, what do you hope comes out of that?
I hope that Tim Walz makes one of those stupid comments, because he is a card-carrying communist, and shows the American people what his true political leanings are. And I hope that JD shows how smart he is and how he can respond without a teleprompter. Because
I think
they've hidden Walz
by the hair of the head, like J.D. Vance was raised up by the hair of the head.
Oh yeah,
and he got this far in life. I'm going to say he's much smarter than the moron he's going to be debating with.
Oh yeah, they've hidden Walz like they've hidden Kamala, because they can't afford to have them speaking, because they say such stupid stuff, and the American people are like, why did he put tampons in boys' restrooms?
That's kind of neat to know why he would do that.
What was the driving force to put tampons and feminine products in the boys' restrooms? I don't understand that. Yeah, he's pretty bad. Even people in his own district.
Okay, we're going to have to go, but I wanted to ask your opinion on this. Did you see the video? And I may have sent it to you. I don't remember if I did or not. I saw this video, and it's not a doctored up. I'm tired of hearing that. Oh, it's doctored up. Well, it's not doctored up. So she's supposed to be out on the campaign trail speaking about, like, how can we end wars? How can we let people, like, not be in poverty and all that kind of stuff. But this is what she was talking about. She was talking about Starbucks. I've got an idea for you, Starbucks. Instead of having the white lid, that shows my lipstick marks, could we have let's do a black lid, because the black lid won't show my lipstick marks.
No, I missed that.
I'm going to send it to you. Okay, you're going to get a kick out. I thought I sent it.
I got to tell you, the lipstick that I wear doesn't show marks, but the color would show on the black one anyway. So what's the point?
That's your campaign speech.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that, okay, if I were her, I'm going up against Donald Trump, who's the best negotiator ever. He had so many things he accomplished, whether you like him or not. Day one, he come rambling through and just like made all kinds of things happen. Good for us, for the United States. I'd be thinking, let's see, I'm in office now. I got to show this dude up. Okay, because I'm a woman. I'm woman, hear me roar. Okay, so I'm going to really, really show him up now. And what I would be doing is I said, look, I don't have time, guys, to be out on the campaign trail. I'm too busy fixing stuff. And I mean, that's what I'd be doing. I would be showing that I'm in it now. I'm going to make it happen. I mean, that's what you do in the business world.
Well, that's because she doesn't want to make it happen. I don't, she's back in D.C. because of the floods. Donald Trump was in North Georgia visiting the people who got.
Oh, he was at the Alabama. He was at the Alabama football game.
Oh,
too.
Yeah. And they said he got USA, and a standing ovation, and
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not going to be on the media, of course,
No,
but I'm hoping to see people's cell phones. People had just like the assassination attempt where the people in charge could not see the man up on the roof, but people who were out there were going, hey, there's a man up on the roof.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's a man up there. It looks suspicious. What do you think? I mean, that's what people like, real people like us were doing. And we got to call it a day.
I'm sorry, I wasn't finished, but okay.
You got to come back in. Let's do it again
Okay.
next week, okay? If you get some time, I know you're busy and all that, but let's get together.
Okay.
And everybody, thank you all so much for watching. We definitely appreciate you. And we want to get that truth out there to you one way or another. And please share this so more people can find out what the truth is by Ann Eubank. Okay? Alabama Legislative Watchdogs. See you later. Bye-bye.